Hello everybody, I am Tiffany and today I am bringing you another book review. I'm a little bit more excited about this book than I usually am, even though this isn't my typical type of read, because it was such a cool experience. The author of this book actually reached out to me on Goodreads asking me to read it and give an honest review, and of course I said yes, so I ended up getting a digital copy of it to read and review. I put my review already on Goodreads, of course, and I also wanted to go ahead and do a review of this book on my channel. It was just super cool. I have never had an author reach out or any of the type to review a book, so this was really cool to have this be the first time this happened to me. It was awesome. It was really cool. The author's name is Nupur Chowdhury. I'm really sorry if I mispronounced that. I think that's how you pronounce it though. She's super nice, super sweet, and I actually really love her writing style. I really enjoyed this book. Great job, Nupur, on your book. I really enjoyed it. And thank you again for reaching out and letting me review your book. And the book I am reviewing today is called Don, 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 don. Can you see it? Oh, shininess. The Brightest fell. I'm wearing red because it kind of matches the cover. The way I'd categorize this book is a political thriller with a little bit of sci-fi, but more so leaning on the side of political thriller. And let me tell you, I'm not usually a person who reads political thriller at all, but I ended up actually having a lot of fun with this one. The writing was more on the simplistic side, not too simple, but it flowed really smoothly. The characters were all super great, super fun. And while the book isn't perfect, there were little bits here and there that did irritate me. Overall, I really enjoyed myself, and I'm really happy that I enjoyed myself. For those of you who want statistics, this book has a 3.70 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, which I know is towards the lower end. I personally gave it 4 stars. I believe it does deserve a little bit higher than 3.70. It's a short book. It's only 300 pages, I think, or close to. Compared to my Outlander books that I'm reading right now, it's small. So it's a pretty quick read. It's very fast-paced. For those of you who want to know what it's about, The Brightest fell. It is a political thriller. It has a couple of characters that you follow, but it takes place in a fictional place called Naijan, and this place has been disrupted a lot by civil unrest recently, and people are trying to find a solution, especially the government. So this one young scientist named Jahan ended up creating a drug called Amvin, and it's supposed to make war criminals compliant and reveal information when necessary in order to protect people against war and civil unrest, and then also just curb people away from violence. And the parliament and prime minister are really pushing Jahan and his group of scientists to test the Amvin drug, but Jahan doesn't feel like the drug is ready to use. It's not doing what it's supposed to do. So he jumps into this political world in order to try and stop this drug from being used. It's really exciting, especially if you like political stuff. I think it can be right up your alley. Jahan is such a fun character, and you have a couple of other main characters too. It's just nice. I really enjoyed the book. I did not expect to, in all honesty, going into it because of what the topic was about, and I really had a great time with it. So thank you so much to the author for giving me a chance to read this book. There's not a lot more I can say spoilery wise for you, so I suggest you go check it out yourself. It's an ebook. You can find it on Amazon Kindle, probably other places too. I think you'll really enjoy it, and then just come back and let me know what you think of it if you end up actually going to check it out or not. Alright, non-spoilery people, I suggest you get out here because I'm gonna spoil the spoils. Goodbye, non-spoilery people. Goodbye! I had so much more fun with this book than I thought I was going to. Jahan is such a great main character. I didn't really know at first if I was going to get into it by the beginning. The beginning did feel a little bit jumbled for me. It's setting up the relationship between Xion and the Prime Minister. You see that Jahan's very jumpy if somebody raises their voice at him. It's setting up the different relationships. So that beginning part was a little bit jumbled for me. I was a little bit like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this. But once you really started getting into seeing exactly what Jahan was planning and how it unfolds, it became really interesting. And it took on a whole interesting perspective in this book. You know why Jahan is doing what he's doing throughout the book. You're told right off the bat he believes Maganti, this guy who is the leader of Maralana, is trying to get a hold of the drug and use it for his own purposes. You know that right off the bat. Knowing what exactly he's trying to protect it from, you are seeing all of these events unfold and people questioning Jahan, but you knowing yourself that Jahan's one of the good guys. I think the only time I really questioned Jahan Jahan was just whether the extremes he was going to, it felt like at the very beginning with completely destroying his relationship with the Prime Minister, if that was really necessary, because you don't know much about the drug yet at all. It's not causing people to be more violent, but it's making people so compliant that they'll do anything you say or just say basically whatever you would like to hear, what you want to hear. And the whole point of it is to curb violence, yes, but also to be able to get valuable information. So it's not about saying what you want to hear, it's supposed to be about making people relax in a very more extreme version of that. So I think that was the only time I questioned that, because you didn't completely understand it at first until everything started playing out, exactly why he needed to go to those lengths. And then once you see who he's playing with, Maganti, Ranisa, you understand it. I really liked the introduction of all the characters, but I like that you have switching perspectives, and I really feel like each character was distinct and unique, so it didn't confuse me, which was really nice. I also appreciated at the beginning of this book, I'm so glad that the author added this in there, is that before you even start the book, she put these little footnotes about the different places you're going to be dealing with in this book. And it really helped, because then when I heard Marlana for the first time, or Naijan, I knew what they were talking about. That helped me, at least. I don't know if it helped other people. Besides Jahan, my next favorite character was definitely Rito, who is Abijah's sister. We're gonna get to Abijah because he annoyed me. But Rito was really, really awesome. I liked her introduction, and probably her perspective is the one where you also question Jahan the most, even though I didn't really question him. But the moment where she gets hired to be an assistant to his childhood friend, that was a little bit suspicious to me. You didn't know exactly his whole entire game plan. You know he's on the good side, but you didn't know exactly what his plan entailed and whether it would truly affect Rito. But it was nice to find out that really it was just Jahan recommending her because she was really good at what she did. It wasn't anything to keep an eye on her or really bring her into the scenario. I thought she was just super fun. She was quippy. I liked the dynamic between her and her brother. She had a good witty banter throughout. I really liked her relationship with Millie. I thought it was really, really sweet. That was one thing that I found really intriguing too about Nupur Chowdhury's writing and her character development, is that you get introduced to Millie and her mom late in the book, very late in the book, and you don't super get to know them. You get to know Millie better because of the fact that Rito saves her from a bullet coming at her. That scene was a little bit confusing, I gotta say. But also you do have the scene where Rito does actually sleep with her and they're together, and it's very, very sweet, and they talk about the black cat. But I thought what was really, really cool was the fact that these two characters were introduced so late. The way it was written was really well done, to the fact that you automatically truly cared about them. I really liked Millie a lot. I didn't want anything to happen to her. And when she ended up getting kidnapped and Rito was freaking out, I felt that for her. And I liked how they talk about the black cat and then use that immediately. That wasn't just pointless information. It was actually important to the story, and that's how Rito knew that Millie was in danger. The only scene that was confusing in my mind was the scene with Millie being shot at and Rito protecting her. I don't know why. I just couldn't picture it right in my head. I was just a little bit confused. I think the layout of the room in my head was just kind of weird. And it felt very much out of nowhere. That was one of the little things that irritated me. I didn't feel any buildup. Up to this point, there hadn't really been any giant attacks necessarily that extreme. You had the moment where Jahan almost burned in the fire, which you found out was an old assassination attempt on the old Prime Minister. You didn't have any gunfights or anything like that, or shootouts remotely in this book. So when all of a sudden there was a gun, it kind of jarred me, just because it wasn't in the style, I guess. A gun seemed too blunt randomly. I don't know why. But the whole book is espionage and these really well-crafted plans. So when all of a sudden it's just, oh, someone's trying to shoot somebody, I was going, wait, what? I had to read through that section a couple times in order to fully get that, oh, this person's under attack. But you find out whoever was shooting at Millie was actually trying to shoot at her mom, but they had changed outfits, so the person thought that Millie was her mom because Millie was wearing her mom's old outfit. But I guess it happened so quickly that it just didn't process right. I wasn't scared at that moment. I was just a little bit thinking, oh, they're gonna make out, and then all of a sudden, oh, never mind, wait, what just happened? The villains were really, really good in this. Maganti, he wasn't super scary. He was more irritating, but Ranisa, that girl, I did not like her whatsoever. One of my favorite scenes which made me fall in love with Jahan was the first scene he interacts with Ranisa. You get an introduction about Ranisa from Ruqayya, saying that Ranisa is this really awful person. She's trying to be the leader of Ariane, I think, trying to be a Xaniar representative. But really you find out she's just trying to be the leader in order to give the other country complete control over the water in order for her family to be able to sell water bottles and get more of a revenue. And this was really the first time you saw Jahan's truly strategic nature. You understand what he was doing with getting the prime minister out, but this is the first time you see him manipulate someone right in front of there. They're in the car and Rhaenyssa's trying to flirt with Jahan and get him on her side. Jahan is just completely impervious to that and basically demolishes her wits-wise. And it was awesome, and that's what made me fall in love with Jahan. I was going, oh, he's got this. He just always stayed calm throughout, which I thought was really, really cool. But Rhaenyssa was just awful. Finding out the whole thing with the La Phantom Club and that they were using it in order to do sex trafficking, that was crazy. There was some crazy stuff in this book, but I appreciate how well it all flowed together. That didn't feel out of the ordinary. The only thing that felt out of the ordinary was the moment where Millie almost got shot. But that was it. Everything else, because of how extreme the strategy was behind everybody's plots, it made sense. That whole scene where all of them end up running into each other. First, Abijah's going to investigate because one of the workers was working on the electrical wires, I believe, by the Prime Minister's office. He was there, or was supposed to be there. And then Abijah is trying to get in and he runs into Jahan, who's dressed as one of the people who's supposed to be drugged. That was hilarious. Him pulling Abijah aside and Abijah saying, "Why are you in glitter?" And once they get further into the club, first of all, you find some vital information because Jahan is basically immune to this drug, and you find out that extreme pain can break someone out of it. But then you also run into Rito, who's trying to save her friend that was basically kidnapped for trying to look into the La Phantom Club and was being drugged there. It was crazy. And you met Rito's friend, which was really cool. They were really nice. I liked them. Now let's get to Abijah and the biggest problem I had with this book. So a pet peeve of mine that I hate in movies, TV, books is when there's a scenario where if people just talked to each other, there wouldn't really be a problem. The first instance you really see this is with Rito, so it doesn't really amount to much. But Rhaenys calls Rito and tells her that if she doesn't do what she says and gets the Anvin prototype that Jahan stole back, then Rhaenys was going to completely ruin the reputation of her family. Rito freaks out because she doesn't want anyone hurting her family. She doesn't care about herself, she cares about her family. So she decides to try and sneak in and steal the Anvin drug back. And I thought she was going to, and it was going to create this whole mess. But luckily, Jahan's old friend catches her. She ends up getting put in jail for just a little bit, but Jahan ends up bailing her out. And she agrees to help him with this plan in order to stop Rhaenys at this gala at the very end in Mar-a-Lago. But that was the first instant where I just sat there going, if you just tell someone, it would all be solved. Now don't get me wrong, she didn't have a lot of interaction with Jahan before then. So I'm not saying to tell Jahan. I'm not really even saying to tell her brother because her brother's something could have been done. So that was the first instance, but I will give her that she wasn't as connected to Jahan and them yet. Now the biggest person who did this was Abijah at the end. The first instance he annoyed me because the first half of the book I liked Abijah. I didn't mind him. I thought him and Jahan were going to slowly become good friends. But the first instance this happens is when Rito calls him crying because she's been put in jail. Abijah just automatically assumes that Jahan is behind all of this and is trying to goad his sister into some evil plot or whatever. So he goes and pummels Jahan a lot. And that causes Jahan to get Rito out of jail. But I'm just sitting there going, dude, he had nothing to do with this. He doesn't know about it. And we know that because we know that him and his old friend staged a fake fight in order to keep people from realizing what Jahan was trying to do. But the fact that he just goes in there and blatantly starts hitting him and says, don't involve my sister in this, blah, 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 and yells at him, I was annoyed. I was going, okay, bro, calm yourself. He's a good guy. You just don't know it. And then the final moment where that really irritated me was at the end where Rhaenys approaches Abijah at the party. Rhaenys threatens him, basically, but he doesn't know what to believe. He calls his family. Rhaenys sent some students to go there to just give them a fake survey. Abijah automatically assumes that what she says about Jahan being behind all this and basically trying to destroy his family is true. And does he talk to anyone about it? No. Does he mention it to his sister? No. I'm not saying you have to mention it to Jahan, though that would have helped, but even mentioning it to your sister would have saved you a whole lot of trouble. You know why? Because the sister could have told you the plot that was actually going on, and then none of this would have happened. But no, you just assumed, you know what, Jahan's a bad guy, I don't like him, I'm just gonna go ahead and go with what Rhaenys is saying. and he ends up getting Jahan kidnapped, himself kidnapped, Rito kidnapped, and Millie kidnapped. Those were kind of separate, but still, I blame them all on Abijah. It was so frustrating because I was just sitting there going, oh my gosh, dude, are you serious right now? You're being this dumb? I was so annoyed that Renisa had gotten to him that easily. It should not have been that easy. It made him look really dumb because of the fact that we know everything that's going on. The whole hostage scene was very, very interesting, but I gotta say, at the beginning with all the backstory and Abijah finding out everything was a little bit repetitive because us as readers know all of this. And it was kind of supposed to feel like this big reveal, but it wasn't really. That was the only hindrance, I think, with knowing exactly what Jahan was doing from the beginning and knowing he's a good guy from the beginning. That scene would have benefited if we didn't know as an audience what Jahan was doing completely. Maybe we get a little bit that he's good, but we don't really know for sure and we question. We would have understood Abijah more. He wouldn't have been as annoying, and that whole reveal where everything is talked about and exactly what Jahan is doing kind of clicks in Abijah's head would have made 10 times more sense. Having the moment where Rito tells Renisa to kiss Maganti in order to distract him, I thought that was pretty funny. I gotta say the transition was a little bit abrupt because you have that whole moment, but they don't mention anything, nothing's mentioned. Then you finally cut to the final party at the end. I thought the ending was really, really strong. I really, really enjoyed it. You have the moment where Afreen says she's going to do work in Mar-a-Lago in order to find out more about trafficking, and Maganti freaks out and Maganti ends up being revealed. I really liked when Jahan was dancing with Renisa and he was just telling her all of this stuff, which was the truth, and freaking her out. And then when he needs Abijah to go and get Renisa from flying to a different country, he makes Abijah dance with him in order to tell him. I thought that was really funny. And seeing Abijah capture Renisa and Renisa not be able to get away, all of that was really satisfying. Finally, seeing at the end that Jahan's saying he's going to step down and that Abijah and Rito's dad would be reinstated as the prime minister was really cool. You don't actually see that, but he states it at the end, so that was really nice. Overall, it was just a really fun book. I will say I don't think that the stakes were as high as I would have liked at the last party, but I don't know. I think part of it too is the fact that nothing really goes over Jahan's head. The only thing that really caught him off guard was that Abijah betrayed him, but still at the end he was just sort of casual about it. So I think that kind of didn't make you as worried for Jahan. He was just cool, calm, and collected throughout the book no matter what. This was a super fun book. Thank you again to Nupur Chowdhury for giving it to me to read. This is all I really have to say about it. I suggest you go and read it, even if you stayed through the spoilers. Get your own opinion of it. It is really, really awesome. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you have any other book, movie, TV recommendations, please leave them in the comments. If you want updates on anything, just video stuff or acting stuff that's going on right now, you can go to my blog, tiffanybooksanmovies.blogspot.com, and you can also leave any recommendations you want there as well, along with the comments on YouTube. And I just really appreciate all of your suggestions, guys. I really, really do. It introduces me to new content, which is super, super fun. Thank you so much for joining me today. Have an awesome day, evening, afternoon, whatever time of the day you're watching this in. Don't forget to be awesome. All right. Goodbye.